Now Leah saw that she stopped having children, so she took Zilpah, her female servant, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. Then Zilpah, Leah's female servant, gave birth to a son for Jacob. Leah said, "How fortunate!" So she named him Gad. Then Zilpah, Leah's female servant, gave birth to a second son for Jacob. Leah said, "How happy am I, for daughters have called me happy." So she named him Asher. Now during the days of the wheat harvest, Reuben went and found mandrakes in the field, and he brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your son's mandrakes." But she said to her, "Wasn't it enough that you took my husband away? You'd also take away my son's mandrakes?" So Rachel said, "That being so, let him lie with you tonight in exchange for your son's mandrakes." So when Jacob came from the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him, and she said, "You must come to me, for I've actually hired you with my son's mandrakes." So he lay with her that very night. Moreover, God heard Leah, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a fifth son for Jacob. Leah said, "God gave me my reward because I gave my female servant to my husband." So she named him Issachar. Then Leah became pregnant again and gave birth to a sixth son for Jacob. Leah said, "God has presented me a good gift. This time my husband will honor me, for I've borne 6 sons for him." She named him Zebulun. Afterwards she gave birth to a daughter and named her Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel, and God listened to her and opened her womb. Then she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. So she said, "God has taken away my disgrace." She named him Joseph, saying, "May Adonai add another son for me." Jacob outwits Laban. Now it was after Rachel gave birth to Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, "Send me away so that I can go to my place and go to my land. Give me my wives and my children for whom I've served you, and let me go, for you yourself know my labor, that I've served you." But Laban said to him, "If I found favor in your eyes, I've looked for good omens, and Adonai has blessed me because of you." Moreover, he said, "Name your own price, and I'll pay it." Then he said to him, "You yourself know that I've served you, and how your livestock fared with me. For you had very little before I came, and it has been busting at the seams in abundance. So Adonai blessed you with my every step. So now when am I myself going to make something for my household also?" Then he said, "What can I pay you?" Jacob said, "You don't need to pay me anything. If you will do this one thing for me, I will shepherd your flock again and watch it. Let me pass through your flock today, removing every colorfully spotted lamb from there, and every dark-colored lamb among the sheep, as well as the colorfully spotted among the goats. And that will be my salary. So tomorrow my honesty will testify on my behalf when you come to check on my salary you agreed to. Every one that is colorfully spotted among the goats or dark-colored among the sheep with me, it is stolen." So Laban said, "All right, may it be according to your word." On that day he removed the colorfully striped and colorful billy goats, as well as all the colorfully spotted goats, every one with white on it, and every dark-colored one among the lambs, and he put them in the hand of his sons. Then he put a 3 days' journey between them and Jacob, while Jacob was shepherding Laban's remaining flocks. But Jacob took fresh white poplar, almond, and plane tree branches, peeled away white striped sections on them, exposing the white branches. Then he set the branches he had peeled in front of the flocks in the drinking troughs and watering channels where the flocks come to drink. Since they were in heat, when they came to drink, the flocks mated near the branches, and the flocks gave birth to striped, spotted, and colorful ones. Now Jacob separated the lambs and set the faces of the flocks toward the striped ones, as well as all the dark-colored ones among Laban's flocks. Then he set aside the herds for himself and did not put them with Laban's flocks. Whenever the strong flocks mated, Jacob put the branches in the watering troughs before the eyes of the flocks to have them mate near the branches. But when the flocks were sickly, he did not put the branches down. So the sickly ones became Laban's, and the stronger ones became Jacob's. And the man grew exceedingly prosperous and had numerous flocks, along with female and male servants, camels and donkeys. Chapter 31. Jacob secretly leaves Laban. Now Jacob heard the words Laban's sons were saying, Jacob has taken everything that belongs to our father, and from what belongs to our father he has made all these riches. Then Jacob saw Laban's face, and he noticed that his expression wasn't the same as it was just a day or two before. Then Adonai said to Jacob, Return to the land of your fathers and to your relatives, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent and called for Rachel and Leah to come to the field, to his flock. He said to them, I can see by your father's face that his expression isn't the same as it was just a day or two ago. But the God of my father has been with me. Now you yourselves know that I've served your father with all my strength. Yet your father has fooled around with me and has changed my salary 10 times. But God hasn't allowed him to harm me. If he would say, the spotted ones will be your salary, then the flocks would give birth to spotted ones. Or if he would say, the striped ones will be your salary, then all the flocks would give birth to striped ones. So God has taken away your father's livestock and has given them to me. Now it happened when the flocks were in heat that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream, behold, the males going up to the flocks were striped, spotted, and speckled. Then the angel of God said to me in a dream, Jacob, said I, and I said, Hineni. He said, Lift up your eyes and see that all the males going up to the flocks are striped, spotted, and speckled. For I have seen everything Laban has done to you. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a memorial stone, where you made a vow to me. Get up now and leave this land and return to the land of your relatives. Then Rachel answered along with Leah, and they said to him, Is there still a portion of inheritance for us in our father's house? Aren't we considered foreigners to him? For he has sold us and has also completely used up our bridal price. For all the riches that God has taken away from our father is for us and for our children. So now everything God said to you, do it. Then Jacob got up and put his children and wives on camels. He drove away all his livestock and all his possessions that he had acquired, the livestock in his possession that he had acquired in Padan Aram, to go to his father Isaac and to the land of Canaan. But while Laban went to shear his flocks, Rachel stole the idols that belonged to her father, while Jacob stole the heart from Laban the Aramean by not telling him that he was fleeing. He himself fled with everything that belonged to him, and he got up and crossed the river and set his face toward the hill country of Gilead. Laban confronts Jacob and makes a covenant. When Laban was told on the 3rd day after Jacob had fled, he took his relatives with him and pursued him a 7 days' journey. Then he overtook him in the hill country of Gilead. But God came to Laban the Aramean in a dream at night and said to him, Watch yourself, lest you say anything to Jacob, good or bad. So Laban caught up to Jacob. Jacob had pitched his tent in the hill country, so Laban and his brothers pitched their tents in the hill country of Gilead as well. Then Laban said to Jacob, What have you done, that you've stolen my heart and have driven my daughters away like captives of the sword? Why did you secretly flee away and steal from me? Why didn't you tell me so I could send you away with joy and with songs, with tambourines and with lyres? And you didn't even kiss me, and you didn't even let me kiss my sons and daughters. Now you've behaved foolishly. It is in the power of my hand to do evil with you. But yesterday the God of your father spoke to me, saying, Watch yourself, lest you say anything good to Jacob or bad. So now, when you up and left because you really missed your father's house, why did you steal my gods? In response, Jacob said to Laban, Because I was afraid, for I thought, suppose you snatch your daughters away from me. Anyone with whom you find your gods shall not live. In front of our relatives, identify whatever is yours that is with me and take it back. But Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and Leah's tent and into the tent of the two maids, but he found nothing. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the idols, put them in the camel saddlebag, and sat on them. So Laban felt around the entire tent, but did not find them. She said to her father, Let not my lord be angry that I cannot rise before you, for I am having the way of women. So he searched, but did not find the idols. Then Jacob got angry and argued with Laban. Jacob answered and said to Laban, What's my crime? What's my sin that you've hotly pursued me? For you felt through all my things. What did you find? Any of your household things? Put them here in front of my relatives and yours, so they can decide between the two of us. These past 20 years I've been with you. Your ewes and female goats have never miscarried, and I've never eaten the rams of your flock. I didn't bring your animals torn by wild beasts. I myself would bear the loss. You would require it from my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. I was consumed by heat during the day, consumed by frost during the night, and my sleep fled from your eyes. This is how it's been for me 20 years in your house. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flocks, and you changed my salary 10 times. Had I not had the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac, you would have sent me away empty-handed now. But God saw my misery and toil of my hands, and last night he became the judge. In response, Laban said to Jacob, The daughters are my daughters, and the sons are my sons, and the flocks are my flocks. Everything you see is mine. But what can I do for these, my daughters today, or for their sons to whom they've given birth? So now, come, let's make a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me. So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. And Jacob said to his relatives, Gather stones. So they took their stones and made a pile. Then they ate there on the pile. Laban called it Jagar Sahudatha, and Jacob called it Galed. And Laban said, This pile is a witness between me and you today. That is why it is named Galed. And Mitzpah, for he said, Let Adonai keep watch between you and me when we are out of one another's sight. If you mistreat my daughters, and if you take wives besides my daughters, though no one is with us, look, God is the witness between you and me. Laban said further to Jacob, Behold, this pile is a pillar which I've set up between you and me. This pile serves as a witness that I won't pass by this pillar to go to you, and that you won't pass by this pile and this pillar to go to me with evil intent. May the God of Abraham and the gods of Nahor, the gods of their father, judge between us. Jacob also made an oath by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on the mountain, and he invited his relatives to eat bread. So they ate bread and spent the night on the mountain. Genesis 32. Early in the morning, Laban got up, kissed his children and daughters, and blessed them. Then Laban left and returned to his place. While Jacob left on his way, the angels of God met him. Then Jacob said, when he saw them, "This is God's camp." And he named that place Mahanaim. Jacob prepares to meet Esau. Then Jacob sent messengers before him to his brother Esau to the land of Seir, the field of Edom. He also commanded them, saying, "This is what you should say to my lord, to Esau. This is what your servant Jacob said. I've been staying with Laban and have lingered until now. Now I've come to possess oxen and donkeys, flocks, male servants, and female servants. I sent word to tell my lord in order to find favor in your eyes." The messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We went to your brother, to Esau, and he's also coming out to meet you, and 400 men with him." So Jacob became extremely afraid and distressed. He divided the people with him, along with the flocks and herds and camels, into 2 camps. For he thought, if Esau comes to the one camp and strikes it, the camp that's left will escape. Then Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, Adonai, who said to me, 'Return to your land and to your relatives, and I will do good to you,' I am unworthy of all the proofs of mercy and all the dependability that you have shown to your servant. For with only my staff I crossed over this Jordan, and now I've become 2 camps. Deliver me from my brother's hand and from Esau's hand, for I am afraid of him, that he'll come and strike me, the mothers with the children. You yourself said, I will most certainly do good with you, and will make your seed like the sand of the sea that cannot be counted because of its abundance." So he stayed overnight there. Then from all that had come into his possession, he took an offering for Esau his brother: 200 female goats, 20 billy goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 milking camels with their young, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 male donkeys. He put them in the hands of his servants, each herd by itself. And he said to his servants, "Pass over before me, and put a gap between each of the herds." Then he commanded the first one, saying, When my brother Esau meets you, and asks you, saying, "To whom do you belong, and where are you going, and to whom do all these before you belong?" then you are to say, "To your servant, to Jacob. It's an offering sent to my lord, to Esau. And look, he's also behind us." And he also commanded the second one, the third one, and all those who were going behind the flock, saying, "Say the exact same thing to Esau when you find him. Then you are to say, 'Look, your servant Jacob is also behind us.'" For he thought, "Let me appease him with the offering that goes ahead of me, and afterward see his face. Perhaps he'll lift up my face." So the offering passed over ahead of him, while he spent that night in the camp. Then he got up that night and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of the Jabbok. He took them and sent them across the stream, and he sent across whatever he had. Jacob wrestles with God. So Jacob remained all by himself. Then a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. When he saw that he had not overcome him, he struck the socket of his hip. So he dislocated the socket of Jacob's hip when he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for the dawn has broken." But he said, "I won't let you go unless you bless me." Then he said to him, "What is your name, Jacob?" he said. "Jacob," he said. Then he said, "Your name will no longer be Jacob, but rather Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men, and you have overcome." Then Jacob asked and said, "Please tell me your name." But he said, "What is this? You are asking my name?" Then he blessed him there. So Jacob named the place Peniel, for I've seen God face to face, and my life has been spared. Now the sun rose up upon him just as he crossed the pit by Peniel, limping because of his hip. This is why the children of Israel do not eat the tendon of the hip socket to this very day, because he struck the socket of Jacob's thigh on the tendon of the hip. Thank you for hearing God's Word today, and I invite you to join me again tomorrow. Have a blessed day. Thanks again. Bye-bye.